Meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ann Bossler. I'm the chair of the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture. Thank you so much for joining us today for our monthly meeting of the commission. I'd like to ask my colleagues on the commission to please keep your video on throughout the meeting to help maintain as accessible as possible to our audience. I'd also like to ask the same of our participating city staff. Now what we're going to do is a quick roll call to confirm commissioner attendance. When I call your name, if you would, please confirm your commission attendance. Let's start with Commissioner Poutre.
Present.
Good morning. Commissioner Frank.
Present.
Good morning. Commissioner Blevins. Commissioner Brown. Commissioner DeZenzo.
Present.
Good morning. Commissioner Hughes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Jackson.
Present. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Commissioner Nuana. Commissioner Friedman.
Present.
Good morning. Commissioner Smith. I know she's here.
Oh, yes, present.
Okay, terrific. And
Good
Commissioner
morning.
Schoenbrunn. Good morning. Thank you so much for everybody being here. Your attendance has been noted. Also joining us today is city staff, including our executive director, Jonathan Gluss, Chief of Civic Arts Strategies, Christine Jones, our project manager, Bel Reza, our senior public art manager, Chuck Miller, and the civic art project manager, Laura Bullock, as well as the newest member of the team, Kip Eichen. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Eichen, who will be introduced to us in more detail later today. At this point, I would like for somebody to read the Commission for Arts and Culture Statement of Purpose and Vision. Do we have a willing participant?
I'll do it.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Vision, expanding our world by celebrating creativity in San Diego. Purpose, the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture serves in an advisory capacity to the mayor and city council on promoting, encouraging, and increasing support for the region's artistic and cultural assets, integrating arts and culture into community life, and showcasing San Diego as an international tourist destination.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Before we get into today's agenda, I'm going to call on Bel Reza to please run down some of the guidelines for today's meeting.
Hello, commissioners. In an effort to provide greater accessibility, members of the public may now join the meeting as webinar attendees. This is in order to provide virtual, non-agenda, and agenda comment in real time. Commissioners, city staff, and authorized presenters are attending the meeting as panelists. The meeting will function for them identically to a typical Zoom meeting. Quick refresher, please note the buttons on the control bar. Please keep your camera on and stay muted when you're not talking. You also see the chat window button. Please keep your chat window open at all times, as you will be using the chat to signal when you'd like to speak. Please refrain from using the meeting chat for anything other than signaling that you'd like to speak in order to comply with Brown Act. Thank you, Chair Bossler.
Okay, thank you so much. We will now move on to the non-agenda public comment. The public was invited to submit public comment on agenda and non-agenda items via a web form accessible through the agenda and the commission's website. Members of the public may also join this meeting as webinar attendees. If members of the public have submitted comments in writing via the web form, staff will read public comment aloud, submitted per city public comment protocol. I will call on Chuck now to please read aloud any non-agenda public comment or to call on any attendees who would like to provide such comment.
So nothing was submitted via web form, and currently there are no members of the public in attendance, so there is no public comment.
Okay. So we are moving along at a brisk clip here. This is good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the chair's report. And let's see here. I hope that everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from the November commission meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes? If you would, please type speak on the chat window and verbally state your name and make your motion.
Chair Bosler, and I'm so sorry, there is a typo on screen, but your minutes are correct in your packet. It's the November 19th minutes that you're voting on.
Yes, that's correct. Okay,
Which is what
terrific.
you have.
Commissioner Smith?
Chair Bosler, so moved.
Okay, terrific. Do we have a second? Commissioner Friedman?
I second.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. So we now have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no requests for discussion, we will now take a vote. I'm going to call out your names. If you please respond out loud with yay, nay, or abstain. And please remember, you do not need to have been present at the November meeting to vote or to discuss. Commissioner Poutre.
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Frank.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Blevins. Commissioner Brown. Commissioner DeZenzo.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes.
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yay.
Commissioner Nuana. Commissioner Friedman.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith.
Yay.
Commissioner Schomburn.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Whooper.
Yay.
Thank you. My vote is a yay. So the minutes are approved from the November meeting.
Chair Bosler, just for the record, Commissioner Blevins has just joined the meeting as well.
Okay, terrific. Welcome, Commissioner Blevins.
Thank you.
Okay, we hope that you've had the opportunity to review the committee term tracker that was included in the meeting packet. On the first page, you'll find the proposed committee structure. As you know, we are still in a transition period with several commissioners that will be terming out and new commissioners that will be onboarding in the coming months. And we will need to revisit this tracker at that time. For now, what we've done is left the committee structure mostly as is, and I have updated only the chair and vice chair roles, taking into consideration both attendance and availability of commissioners based on the 2021 attendance, as well as personal input from commission members. I am particularly concerned with the amount of work that we have to accomplish in this coming calendar year and our ability to expeditiously conduct this business. As you know, we've had some serious challenges reaching quorum in 2021. Weighing the need to conduct meetings regularly and beginning meetings on time in respect of our fellow commissioners, staff, and the public, along with the need to be representative of our community as possible, I have made only a few changes in the leadership roster, and I hope that these changes have met our needs in the near term. With the approval of the 2022 committee chairs and vice chairs, we will have met our municipal code mandated obligation of appointing leadership this month. In the month of January, I'll be arranging to meet with all of you on a one-on-one basis to better understand your goals for service on the commission. I anticipate bringing the remainder of assignment changes to the full commission in the late winter, early spring. With that, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the vice chair and committee chairs? If you would, please type speak into the chat window and verbally state your name and make the motion. Commissioner Hughes.
I so move the slate of candidates forward.
Thank you so much. Do we have a second? Commissioner Schomburn?
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Hughes?
Just want to thank you, Chair, for putting together a really strong list of leadership team, and congratulations on selecting Rebecca Smith as your vice chair. There is no one better that we could have in that role, as well as leading policy and funding. though it's a shame that she's leaving us at some point due to term outs, but we're lucky to have her on board.
Here, here, totally agree. Thank you so much, Commissioner Hughes, and really appreciate everybody's feedback to date. That was really helpful. And for those of you that didn't have the opportunity or the time to submit input, know that we will be talking to you individually, and you'll have an opportunity to give some input at that point. Before we vote, is there any public comment on this particular agenda item?
No, there is not.
Okay, terrific. So with that, we will now take a vote, and what I'm going to do is call your name, and if you would, please respond with yay, nay, or abstain. Remember that you do not need to have been, okay, so that doesn't pertain. So I'm going to call your name and yay, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Poutre?
Yay.
All right. Commissioner Frank?
Yay. Nice work.
Thank you. Commissioner Blevins?
Yay.
Commissioner Brown? Commissioner DeZenzo?
Yay.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes?
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yay.
Thank you. Commissioner Nuana? Commissioner Friedman?
Yay.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Yay. Yay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Schoenbrunn?
Yay.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Whooper?
An enthusiastic yay.
Right on. And my vote is a yay as well. So welcome aboard, everybody. We've got some good work to do. Looking forward to tackling this with all of you. As we continue to move along here into other reports, I wanted to take a moment to quickly remind everybody about our rules and regulations as far as attendance is concerned. As stated in the rules and regs, it is the intent of the mayor and the city council to benefit from every commissioner's expertise and skills. Therefore, commissioners will attend regular monthly commission meetings. Failure to attend at least half of the regular monthly meetings in any given calendar year, or unexcused absences from 3 consecutive regular monthly meetings, not including special meetings, may result in a recommendation to the mayor and to the that the commissioner forfeit the position for cause. Planned absences must be communicated to the commission chair prior to the meeting. For purposes, I'd like to continue our procedure of reporting directly to Bel Reza if a commissioner is going to be absent, late, or have to leave a regular meeting early. I can pledge to you that as chair, I will do my best to keep meetings on schedule at all times and to end by the posted times and to end on time. I know everyone on the commission is busy, and I always want to respect everyone's time commitment. As I have only been in this role for a week, I'd like to hold on any additional comments until January. I do want to thank everyone for entrusting me in this role, and I certainly look forward to working with each of you in the coming year to meet the needs of our community. And look at this, we're perking right along. So now we're going to move on to our next agenda item, and I'd like to extend a warm welcome to San Diego's inaugural Poet Laureate, Ron Salisbury. Ron is here today for one final reading. And before he begins, I'd like to thank Ron, who has been an extraordinary ambassador for poetry, spoken word, and literary arts in the city. Ron served a 2-year term. Boy, did that go by quickly, huh? Producing engaging original works inspired by and in response to San Diego, including his signature project, San Diego Poetry of Resilient San Diego, which was featured as a free digital poetry workshop series hosted by Salisbury himself, where guests teaching poets join him each month, April through September of this year. Participants were invited to submit poems of resilience after each workshop, and a map featured poetry submissions that began to visualize poets across the city of San Diego. Additionally, Ron also founded a Poetry Together Challenge, a poetic response to the pandemic in May of 2020. Ron established the project as a way to engage, document, and encourage a public appreciation of poetry, as well as acknowledge the important role creativity could play during the state shelter-in-place order in response to COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for being here with us today, Ron. Is Ron here with us?
He did join the meeting. Let me, yeah.
Yeah, I did find the meeting. Thank you very much for all your help. And thank you all for being here today and listening to me to do a short reading on this last month of my appointment. It's been an honor to represent San Diego and the San Diego poets for the last 2 years. It's been a strange and difficult last 2 years for a poet, but it's not been any different than for you. And as the first wave of COVID came in, so did I come into this office. So the planned public appearances and the readings did not happen, but we did produce, as you've been told, this long series of poetry craft with it. And a lot of people helped me get this done. You know, Brittany Burston of the city was the tech person behind designing all of the sites for the project. And I thank Jonathan for the chance to do this. And also a great thanks to Christine Jones, who provided guidance and direction throughout this whole period of my appointment. So I thank you all, and I have 2 poems for you today. This first one was created just this last week, and you know what? I'm sure you'll recognize the circumstances. It's called Winter in San Diego. A guy in a bucket on spindly arms extracts the top bones of a giant eucalyptus across the street. The afternoon blows into night. It's rattling our ill-fitting windows. The lights flicker and hold. Leaf duff shakes loose. It's a squawk and a gush on the way to the ocean. Dead fronds denting hoods of parked cars. The guy in the yellow rubber vest waves his slow sign to me on the way to salad and to sip wine. I have a friend in Minneapolis where it's 2 below and a foot of snow. So this last poem is one of the requirements of being the Poet Laureate of San Diego, and that was to create an ode to San Diego. And traditional odes come in 2 forms. One is personal, maybe it's about a person, and the second one is a kind of an epic event, a public poem celebrating a place or a time. And this is the form of my ode to San Diego. Traditional odes are written usually in sections, usually in 3, but contemporary odes often break all of the rules. My ode has 4 parts, and the title of the ode is called Drawn to the Sea. Now, this title reflects the attraction of the sea off the coast of San Diego that has drawn people here for millennia. If we talk about the history of San Diego, we have to talk about the original occupants, the Kumeyaay. We are located near the northern border of their territory, which ran about from San Luis Rey down halfway down the Baja and then east to the Salton Sea. Now, there were many bands of Kumeyaay. Most were organized around family lines, and they had different dialects of the same family language. And I chose the Barona band and their history and their dialect. The Kumeyaay were not nomadic. They usually did not have a central village, and they followed the seasonal sources of food, but they weren't nomadic. The fall in the foothills for acorns, the winter in the warm east, the spring along streams and rivers, and the summer they came to the sea, the Mission Bay area for fish, especially the grunion, and for greens and for salt. Their living structures were for sleeping only, not for living in. They were made of willow and reed covered huts, then they burned them whenever they moved and left. The political structure of their bands usually contained 3 leaders, and one of the leaders, who was the spiritual leader, often a woman, interpreted the cosmology of their beliefs. She read the constellations to tell them when to relocate for the seasons for their food. Since I touch on these things in the ode, and I've had significant help from the Barona band, it's helpful for these things to be set out before I start my poem today. In the second section, it's about the Spanish, and also Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, who is pointed to as the first of the Spanish to recognize this magic of San Diego. But the name as we pronounce it and use it to name things is the Spanish pronunciation of his Portuguese name. He was Portuguese. The Spanish hired him to come here. And then the last two sections are about World War II and about now. Drawn to the sea, Kumeyaay. When the Uguatai, the garter snake, its tail is just by Me Hatat Kura, the Milky Way, path the soul will eventually travel. She is watching. As other Kusier have read these signs since Yokomat and Tuchipai agreed that they would make light. It is time, she thinks, to burn the Ogwa and go to the sea, Hashith. Summer is here. Soon, when the rabbit in the moon is clear, the little Hashupa will come to feed us, so salty, sweet. The young ones will have to learn to wait until they have finished with their eggs and squirming back to the sea to catch them. Tomorrow we begin packing the baskets, storing the acorns, following the water path down the trail to the sea, Hashith. The Spanish. The conquistadores took almost 250 years to settle San Diego. First named San Miguel by Juan Rodriguez, who may be buried somewhere here at the shore. It only took a few years to destroy the Kumeyaay way in the name of Christ, to destroy the seasonal harvest to harvest. No permanent village, but not nomad, not migration. They managed their land and took what it gave. The foothill acorns in fall, the warmth eastward in winter, the river and stream bottoms in lush spring, and the glorious summer, the sea with its wealth, calling all summer. The Padres made them farmers. The Padres made them beggars. João Rodrigo Cabrillo found the sheltered bay in 1542, landed a little trading and left in 7 days. And the Kumeyaay sang these strange men with beards around their fires for a century and a half. But the obdurate Spanish returned to this safe harbor, this safe sea again. Great smokes were seen on the land, their log reads. The Kumeyaay managed the land with careful fires, dammed the seasonal streams and rivers to hold back water. Still, the Spanish found no gold, no Strait of Ananan, which was the passage to the Orient, and they left for another century. The Kumeyaay survived until on a borrowed army mule, an old Spanish padre came, one with a sharp tongue, a fondness for chocolate, and Christ in his heart. And he wouldn't leave, and more came. From disease, from hunger, the Kumeyaay began to die. Like some great hand of a foreign god smote their way of being along here by this safe harbor, this safe sea. The Navy. In 1941, December exactly, the 7th exactly, San Diego woke up and won't go back to sleep. It was the drowsy retirement of long-serving Navy men who knew the secret, that it was the sea. Then they came to build the war along our coast. The ships along the wharfs, battleships, carriers, tenders, workers drawn from the south, from the north central, no place in San Diego to put them. Can you spare a bedroom for a worker? 3,000 homes in 200 days in Linda Vista. You didn't have to be a secretary, work in notions, teach kindergarten. Can you learn to rivet, twist a wrench? The downtown sleepy streets turned sailor blue, Eddie's Bar, the Bomber Cafe on 4th Avenue, penny arcades, tattoo parlors, fights, shore patrol. Drawn to the sea. VJ Day, 1945. And few went home to winter in the farms. What the Kumeyaay knew, the Spanish discovered. The Navy built, drawn to the sea. And now, we rode the lanterns of headlights down 5 to San Diego in 1976, high in the cab of the rental van, leaving another place and arriving elsewhere, elsewhere being jobs for us. Turn here, she said. Let's look at the sea. We walked out on the beach and listened to the tide making its endless labor. The moon laid down paint across each comber. This wasn't Indiana or Ohio, the dry Nevada valleys. That moon, that rabbit, rolled the sea across and around our bare legs, and has not released me yet. Spawn of some ancient creature searching its roots in the sea where it crawled from so long ago. Impossible to imagine. I have to tell you what I've learned. Even the sun is drawn to the sea off San Diego. Comes down from the mountains east to where Earth begins to pull itself up from the sea. It slips below, anxious to come back again. Turn here, she said. Let's look at the sea. Thank you, folks.
Ron, thank you so
Bravo.
much. That's terrific.
Thank you.
Feel free to join our meetings and spontaneously present poetry at any time you like.
I'll take that up from you, even though my tenure is past. I still like reading to you folks, so
Terrific. Well,
Thank you.
we'll have to reach out to you and have you continue to join us.
anytime.
Okay, wishing you and your family a happy and safe holiday.
Thank you very much, and the same to all of you, and good luck with the hard work that you're doing.
Okay, don't go anywhere yet, because it looks like Commissioner Poutre would like to speak, and I'm imagining she wants to say something to you. So hold on, okay?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Poutre?
Thank you. Oh, Ron, that was great. And I'm curious to know, will we all be staying in the Everyday Monday, Poem a Day Monday?
Of course, Janet, you're there for life.
Hey, thank you so much. I so enjoy it.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments before we let Ron go?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ron. All right, next up, we're gonna move on to our committee reports. Let's see, for policy and funding, there's nothing to report at this point. We did not have a meeting this month, but plan to reconvene in January. Let's see, regarding public art, let's move on and have Commissioner Whooper, if you would like to give us your committee report and overview of the action item.
All right, good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Commissioner Frank for his journey back to the chair position on the Public Art Committee. Many years ago, you served in that position and you were always so articulate, insightful, and passionate about all of the public art projects that we got to look at. And I didn't have the opportunity to serve with you at that time on the committee. I'm excited to serve with you on the committee now, though. And
Awesome.
in terms of
Thanks for
my,
that.
pardon?
Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. And in terms of my report, we have one action item from December's Public Art Committee meeting. But before we get to that, I would like to note that we received a presentation of an awesome comprehensive summary of the projects that will comprise the Park Social Initiative that will be rolling out this spring 2022. Staff will provide the same presentation later in today's agenda. With that, I'd like to present the action item for the artist selection panelists for Fire Station 48 Black Mountain Ranch Public Art Project. The Public Art Committee recommends the following panelists for the Fire Station 48 Black Mountain Ranch Public Art Project. Eun Jung Park for the seat of the Public Art Committee member, with Tiffany Y. Ying Beres as an alternate, and Jessica McCambly for the seat of the Visual Art Design Professional, with recommended alternates in no particular order, to serve as 2 of the 5 ad hoc artist selection panelists. I'd like to call on Chuck to give an overview of the project and recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Whooper. So the Fire Station 48 Black Mountain Ranch will comprise a new permanent 11,500 square foot fire station located at Carmel Valley Road and Wine Creek Road. that will serve the Black Mountain Ranch community. Black Mountain Ranch is a recently developed suburban community in Council District 5 in the northeastern part of the city of San Diego. Historically, much of the territory was agricultural, and new developments in the area include homes, schools, shopping centers, and community parks. The territory is notable for its hilly, rugged terrain and abundant open space. So the artist contract for the design, fabrication, transportation, and oversight during installation by the city is $165,000. An RFQ will be released for artists and artist teams that are authorized to work in the United States. So artists will apply by submitting qualifications and will be selected by a 5-member ad hoc selection panel who will evaluate applications and recommend one artist for contract award. Construction of the fire station is tentatively expected to be completed by the end of 2024. So the Public Art Committee recommends the approval of Anjung Park and Tiffany Ying Bears as the alternate for the seat of the Public Art Committee member, and Jessica McCambly for the seat of the Visual Arts and Design Professional, with recommended alternates in no particular order that are listed in the committee report, to serve as 2 of the 5 ad hoc artist selection panelists. Jessica McCambly is a San Diego-based artist. She earned an MFA in painting and drawing from the University of North Texas College of Visual Arts and Design, and is professor of art at Miramar College. McCambly's work has been exhibited at various galleries and institutions, including Kenice Barnes Fine Art, Holly Johnson Gallery, 500X, Helmuth Projects, and the Dallas Contemporary. Her work was selected for inclusion in both the Museum of Contemporary Art San Diego's Here Not There, San Diego Art Now, and Women in Abstraction at the Cornell Museum of Fine Arts. In addition, McCambly's work was featured in New American Paintings Juried Exhibitions in Print, number 109, Pacific Coast issue. McCambly is represented by commercial art galleries Kenice Barnes Fine Art and the Orange Observatory. That concludes the overview of the project and recommendation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Hi, it's Fritz Friedman. I have a question. I'm new to this, so I don't know exactly how everything works, but the $165,000, how is that determined?
In this case, this is per the 2% for art policy. So it is 2% of eligible costs of eligible, sorry, excuse me, capital improvement projects is what I'm searching for.
So what is the breakdown of that? I mean, $165,000 goes to whom?
That is the artist contract. The total to not exceed amount for the artist contract, and that is for the design, fabrication, transportation, and oversight during installation. So the city will contract directly for the installation of the artwork.
Okay, and that goes to one organization or one person?
Correct. That goes to,
Okay.
yes, it goes to one artist.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Smith?
Just a comment. So first of all, Fritz, thank you for your question, and please keep those questions coming as you are new. One of the things that I feel like as the longest serving commissioner, and Tyler, thank you for your comment as well. I feel like if we can have more conversations sort of behind the scenes around the 2% that Charles talked about, and even, you know, understanding maybe some of the artists who have been funded in the past and how they've really been able to serve our city with the great work that they're doing. So keep the questions coming, but I think my comment right now is just to really commit to being able to say, let's get those answers for you. Let's get those resources for you so you can really truly understand the work once we sit down at these full commission meetings. And then I'll say this again to new commissioners, please go to committee meetings. It's where you really, really get to see where everything happens.
Thank you so much. Important comments. Any other discussion or questions before we move on to take a vote? Okay, seeing none.
President Bosler,
Yes,
I have down here Doreen speak, but you may not be able to see it. I
okay,
have a
please go ahead.
question. Okay, so my question is this. I met with a artist that had already been granted $15,000 for her sculpture in District 1 at the Helen Browning Scripps Park. And she talked about that she needed more funding. So maybe this is something I have to address probably with Charles, we walked the property and she saw that because of lighting and because of foundation, that she's not going to be able to do her project safely unless there is more funding.
I believe you're referring to one of the park social projects, Doreen, and we will address those in turn.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Diane Nissom, the mirrored sculpture piece.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, that was inappropriate. Sorry.
Does anybody want to comment on what that means or if that has any relevance to our taking action today?
Or no, that is not relevant to this action item. That pertains to the park social projects, which we will be providing a comprehensive overview of later in the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, with that, any further discussion before we take a vote on this particular action item? If there's not, do we have a motion? Commissioner Whooper?
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Frank. With that, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion before we go on to vote? Okay, seeing none. Is there any public comment before we vote?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. Now I will call your names, and if you would, please respond with yay, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Poutre?
Sorry, yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Frank.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Blevins.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner DeZenzo.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Nuana.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Friedman.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith.
Yay. Oh, yay.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Schonbrun.
Yay.
Thank you, Commissioner Whooper.
Yay.
Okay, and my vote is a yay as well. So with that, that carries. Anything else from public art before we move to advocacy and outreach? Okay. With respect to advocacy and outreach, Commissioner Hughes, do you have anything you would like to share?
Nothing at this time, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Nuano, is there anything you would like to share with respect to Commissioner Engagement Ad Hoc Committee?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Before we move on, is there any public comment for this agenda item?
No, there is not.
Okay, great. Next, we are going to move on to a presentation of the temporary projects for Park Social. Thank you, Christine, and the Public Art team for all of your hard work on this project. Before we move on, is there any public comment for this particular agenda item?
No, there is not.
Okay, Christine.
Thank you, Chair Bosler. Congratulations, by the way. So first of all, good morning. It's nice to see everybody. The purpose of this presentation is to really provide an overview and remind you of the Park Social Initiative, and also share with you the progress on all the artist projects. So we've been working, our team's been working a lot with Public Art Committee over this fall. And so we're at a point where we want to share it with all of you. So let's go to the next slide. So before we get started, I wanted to first remind everyone about how we got to how the initiative started and kind of how we got here. So as many of you probably recall, kind of at the height of COVID, the city really started looking at ways that we could potentially support arts organizations, but also artists. And what we found was that artists were being incredibly impacted economically by COVID-19. So many artists weren't able to perform or exhibit their work, and many of them were really unable to generate income from gig economy work, which is very common within this sector. So with that in mind, the city initiated two unique initiatives, SD Practice, which you are all probably familiar with at this point. That was the direct purchasing initiative where we purchased 100 artworks by 89 local artists. So the other initiative that we had started at that time was Park Social. And so both the initiatives, the overall intent was really, again, to support artists, make them part of the city's kind of reimagining, reopening in a post-COVID environment. So as you probably remember, Park Social is our initiative where we're commissioning artists, San Diego area artists and artist teams to develop small scale. So these are small scale, temporary, kind of more participatory, kind of ephemeral temporary projects in the city's park system. So this initiative is made possible by the city's Public Art Fund. Let's go to the next slide. So here it just outlines some of the goals that we had set up early on in the initiative. This shouldn't be new information, but I just kind of wanted to refresh your memories. We really see, and I'm sure many of you would agree, that parks are really a cornerstone of San Diego communities. So producing exchanges between parks and park visitors and goers and developing these temporary projects will really kind of create new ways for people to really experience public places, and particularly park spaces. And it happens to be that this park master planning process just was complete, and there's a new park master plan which really emphasizes art experiences in parks. So we're really excited to see this synergy happening. So really our ultimate goal is really to activate parks, but also to really welcome residents and visitors to the city's vast and varied park system and all of its typography. And we really see and have encouraged the artists to really energize their own creative practice, and also really creating moments of potential participants, collaborators, contacts of park visitors, moments of surprise, beauty, irony. We're really looking for different ways for people to experience parks. So let's go to the next slide. So just to refresh your memories, we had done the city had issued a request for qualifications during the pandemic for Park Social. And at that time, it was open to our area, San Diego area artists, practicing artists. We had 154 artists and artist teams respond to that call. Artists applied by submitting their qualifications. And then those qualifications, the city convened a selection panel. You all were involved with identifying the panelists for that panel. So the city convened that panel. The panel reviewed all of the applications. And then really the outcome of those evaluations was the recommendation of 18 artists and artist teams for commissions to the city. So the panel, if you remember, was comprised of Public Art Committee member Linda and Caballero Sotelo served from the Public Art Committee, And we had some visual art professionals on that panel as well. Ricardo Dominguez, who's an associate professor and artist at University of California, San Diego. And we had an independent curator, Elizabeth Rookledge. In addition to that, we had city park experts. We had Catherine Johnson from the San Diego Parks Foundation and Rick Goley, who serves on the Park and Recreation Board. So that I want to just take a minute to thank them. We haven't really thanked them publicly for all of their work. It was a lot of work to review all those applications at the time. So I do want to acknowledge and thank them for that. So since that time, we have worked on getting the artists have basically been doing their research and homework. Let's go to the next slide. They have, they've been really exploring the park environment. We've really tasked them with really exploring the park system and particularly different parks within different council districts, which we'll touch on in a minute. So since they've done their research, they've really been actively working in developing their temporary projects. They've been looking at park sites and really choosing their own park site in coordination with city staff. The only the parameter was that they were designated a specific council district to work in. So as you'll see in a couple of moments, the 18 kind of projects coming out of this really vary in form. And that was the intention. So projects are short-term installations. Some of them are more performative. Some are one-day events. Some of them kind of take on a couple different components and are different types of actions that are happening at different times in the parks. A lot of them are participatory in nature and really involve or engage people and communities, which is really the intent of this. Let's go to the next slide. So the Park Social Program will be announced in winter 2022. So we'll be doing kind of a public kind of announcement of the upcoming program. And we'll be launching Park Social, begin implementing the projects in the spring of 2022. Now, some of the project duration might be up to 6 months, and some of them might be more event-based and kind of implemented within that kind of spring to fall time period. And really, we're really excited about rolling this out. We have a lot of artists that are deploying different events in different parks over different times during the initiative overall. So as part of the overall initiative, we're also going to be creating some opportunities to introduce the artists to the that are working on these projects to the public. So we're kind of thinking about some events. We're going to be fostering some opportunities for meeting those artists, creating materials and different types of signage to guide people to either the events or project locations. We're going to be working on a promotion and marketing kind of initiative where we'll be marketing and promoting Park Social overall locally, nationally. We'll be communicating through social media. We'll be doing more grassroots cultivation, which is really a lot of the work that the artists are doing and cultivating those neighborhood constituencies and audiences for their projects. And also we're gonna be creating a dedicated website, which will have event calendars and maps and more information about the artists and the projects. So that overall the activities that we're really designing are really to strengthen social connections, encourage public participation and really new audiences for temporary public art, and particularly in the city's park system. So let's go to the next slide. So you'll see here a map, and this map is a map of City of San Diego, so by council districts. So it really is what we have really helped us to inform a geographic structure for the Park Social Initiative. So again, we have 18 artist teams. So there's 18 projects that we're commissioning as a city. It's kind of determined by the metric of 2 artists per council district. So again, those artists really explored their particular zone, which again, it mirrors the council district, and identifying their chosen park. So what we want to do now is really, since I've kind of given you that overall Park Social Initiative overview, I want to hand it over to Chuck, who's going to give you a brief synopsis of each project. So take it away, Chuck.
Thank you, Christine. So maybe I'll just start by, so So, and then this map shows, just to take it from where Christine left off, this map shows a rough distribution of the projects throughout the city. You might notice more than one pin per council district, as many of the projects will take on multiple iterations in different parks throughout the district. I'm going to kind of go through a brief synopsis of each project in order of council district. I will be focusing on the concepts and the aesthetics of each project today. So I will note up front that each project is currently in a state of active development. And we are currently working closely with the artists, the Parks and Recreation Department, to ensure all of the logistical details are addressed. So starting with Council District 1, the two artists that are working in Council District 1 are Roberto Salas and the art collective Artbuilds. Roberto Salas's project is titled Tribute to Paleteros, and is being planned for Stanley Park and University Gardens Park in University City. Roberto Salas is a multidisciplinary visual artist and musician whose work addresses a wide breadth of traditional and experimental approaches. Salas connects with his native roots through his art. He uses his passion for global travel and study of diverse art and culture as an influence for his art. Salas has been producing projects in the San Diego region in collaboration with communities for a generation now. Tribute to Paleteros consists of popsicle-shaped road signs mounted on telespar poles along Governor Drive in University City at Stanley and University Gardens Park. Each reflective sign has a different composition of rainbow colors and laser-cut images. Salas takes inspiration from paleteros or popsicle vendors, distributing desirable treats and creating everlasting memories for park-goers. The other project in Council District 1 is Artbuilds. The project is titled Discworld, anticipated for Ellen Browning Scripps Park in La Jolla. Artbuilds is a collective that was founded in 2019 and creates large format temporary installations that encourage curiosity and engagement. Their core team is based in San Diego and together have decades of experience in large format sculpture, design, engineering, lighting, electronics, and structural analysis. Discworld is a sculptural installation consisting of multiple mirrored columns with individually rotatable segments. Each column is about 6 feet tall and 1 feet wide. Park visitors will be able to rotate these segments to change how the piece looks, causing varying distorted reflections and perspectives. Artbuilds was particularly interested in the way these reflections will change how people see both themselves and the surrounding landscape in the park. Moving along to Council District 2, the artists working in Council District 2 are Margaret Noble and David White. Margaret Noble's project, called Locked Groove, is being planned for Plumosa Park in Point Loma. Margaret Noble's interdisciplinary work resides at an intersection of sound, sculpture, and performance, and often assumes the form of interactive sculpture and installation. Noble's work is influenced by the dynamic dance music cultures of Southern California that flourished from the 1980s to the 1990s. Locked Groove is a looped audiovisual experience that traces and morphs along the entire curb edging of Point Loma's Plumosa Park. Rhythmic visual designs created using temporary chalk pigments are based on conceptual ideas about life rhythms divided into 4 themes: domestic, social, industrial, and natural, and reference the graphical scores associated with experimental music. Audiences can augment their experience through their digital devices to open a web-hosted interactive mixer of sounds corresponding to the designs on the curb. The other artist working in District 2 is David White. The project is titled Essential San Diego, being anticipated for Kate Sessions Park in Pacific Beach. David White is an artist and educator whose work examines issues of urban development and how aesthetic and cultural forms are used in this process. Often this work unfolds through collaborative projects that examine the urban and architectural conditions that mold civic spaces and public engagement. Essential San Diego is a temporary installation of a pair of scenic overlook style binoculars of the kind often found in high tourism areas. As viewers look into these binoculars, expecting to see images of faraway landscapes, significant architecture, and other scenic highlights, they are instead greeted by video vignettes of everyday workers who make the city of San Diego run. These videos are played on a VR device hidden in the overlook binoculars, as if the binoculars are now functioning as X-ray lenses into the heart of the city. Moving on to Council District 3, the artists working in Council District 3 are Mario Torero and Sarabella Mondragon, and Timothy Murdoch. Mario Torero and Sarabella Mondragon will be collaborating to create Toltec totems being planned for to be deployed in Balboa Park. Mario Torero is an artist and activist, most known over the last 50 years for an extensive body of socially conscious mural work produced in different cities throughout the United States and around the world. His approach to co-creating artworks in the neighborhoods and spaces where he is invited helped manifest a reflective common vision of an identity brewing below the surface of the concrete. Sarabella Mondragon is a multimedia artist, activist, and digital storyteller. She is the artistic instigator behind the Barrio Artists Coalition, whose mission is to sponsor events, festivals, and exchanges between arts and culture organizations whose stages are street corners. Toltec Totems is a sculptural project inspired by the history of Chicano arts movement and activism in San Diego. Coinciding with the Centro Cultural de la Raza's 50th anniversary, the hope is that these totems act as metaphorical and literal bridges to the Centro so that an appreciation for the predominantly San Diego-based Chicano artists featured on the totems can expand locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. See if I can get the media to work for this one. There we go. So Timothy Murdoch's project entitled Walking the Wall is being, 3 iterations are being planned for North Park Community Park and North Park in Balboa Park, and also Fault Line Park in East Village. Tim Murdoch is an artist whose work ranges from hand-carved recycled polyethylene gas pipe to site-specific and kinetic installations with a focus on repurposed material. Murdoch's work explores the meaning of stuff in this world and whether it be man-made or natural. Walking the Wall is a performative participatory artwork which speaks to the mutable character of borders, walls, and the ownership of space through a gesture of invitation and collaboration. The artwork takes the form of a dancing wall of boxes staged on shipping pallets, which dancers will move by building and unbuilding through their choreography. Moving on to Council District 4. The artists working in Council District 4 are the collaborative team Brian and Ryan and Mario Mosquito. Brian and Ryan are a collaborative duo formed by Brian Black and Ryan Bullis, whose often humorous work spans performance, sculpture, installation, and public interventions. Their installation-based work is site-specific and focuses on engaging the audience with familiar forms while altering components of the space in an inquisitive and playful manner, leading viewers to new discoveries about the space. The Park Social at Choyas Lake is a multi-phase project that celebrates parkgoers' collective experiences, both real and imagined, and Choyas Lake Park itself as a living character in a narrative that is both humorous and playful. The project will consist of various sculptural interventions and performances in the park and will culminate in an ice cream social reception and publication and an installation of billboard-like 12-foot by 8-foot banners in the lake itself depicting documentation of the interventions. Mario Mosquito is an interdisciplinary, socially engaged artist based in Southern California. His work examines relationships, identity, knowledge sharing, and the social boundaries created within the context of community through social practices, dialogue, and visual representation. Paleta's Communal Social Club strives to bridge communities in District 4 together through a series of public park social interventions, addressing the communal moment of national and global economic upheaval, social reckoning, and surviving and thriving under a pandemic. Paletas provides an opportunity for community members to share their reflections of the past year and a half, listen to others, and figure out how to look towards the future as members of varying intersecting communities. Mosquito gathers these expressions through many interviews and questionnaires given over the Paletas mobile lab in exchange for popsicles. The project will end with a culminating event where these reflections are shared. In Council District 5, the artist team comprised of Beck Habestro and Katie Garitlian and Keenan Harston. Beck Habestro and Katie Garitlian, whose work is titled Floating Photo Studios, being planned for Hilltop Community Park in Rancho Penasquitos. Beck Habestro and Katie Garitlian are co-founders of Rehearsal, a residency for experimentation in a social context. Habestro is an interdisciplinary artist, writer, and collaborator and facilitator. Katie Garitlian is an artist and arts worker. Her research focuses on Swana, or Southwest Asian and North African photo studio practices established in homelands as well as of diaspora. Floating Photo Studios is a community photo lab wherein park goers can fly kite pinhole cameras that capture images of the surrounding and the sky from the sky above. The use of kites allows for a familiar gesture as an entry point to begin a rich dialogue with park goers. The intention is to work with photography, a medium entangled in systems of oppression, to reconfigure the photographic medium towards community and care. In addition to the kites, there will also be props placed around the park to enhance the user's experience. These will include liberatory signage and other large text. The photos that the park goers will take will be printed and displayed on fabric-based installations. Keenan Hartston, whose project is called Honeycomb Harmonies and is being anticipated for 6 parks around District 5. Keenan Hartston is an artist and musician and designer utilizing concepts, forms, and techniques across a spectrum of disciplines. Hartston creates playful installations, objects, gardens, and collaborative community-based projects that often focus on materiality of discarded objects and reimagines worlds of texture, color, and sound that offer new temporal perspectives. The Honeycomb Harmonies is a sculptural intervention that takes the form of a musical playground using hexagons as a framing tool and homage to bee colonies. The Honeycomb Harmonies is a series of hopeful experiments in determinacy and indeterminacy, creativity, joy, and collective expression. It looks to the collective action of bees as a model of the unity required at this moment in human history. Only by individuals working together in harmony can we create the shapes and patterns which promote life. In Council District 6, we have artist and choreographer Zakia Malher Salinas working with Disco Riot and Allison Weiss. Disco Riot's mission is to grow social consciousness and connection through collaborative, thought-provoking, movement-based arts in San Diego. Founder Zakia Mahler Salinas is a performer, dance maker, and teacher. It's going to play through this video as an earlier iteration of the project that they are anticipating, which is titled Choreo and Blank, being adapted to Hickman Athletic Fields in Kearney Mesa. Choreo and Blank is a socially specific, site-informed, interactive, and participatory dance performance where audience participants engage in an activity between short dance performances by local artists. On the park fields, audience participants will explore soccer and baseball-related activities while watching dances crafted around the theme of the park space, community, and team sport. This collaboration of live performance, music, and team-based physical activity emphasizes the place of art, embodiment, and collaboration at the forefront of creative community building. And so also in Council District 6 is Allison Weiss, whose project is titled Reading to Strangers, being planned for Canyonside Community Park in Rancho Penasquitos, Canyon Hills Open Space in Mira Mesa, and Mira Mesa Community Park. Allison Weiss is an interdisciplinary artist who makes sculptures, installations, sound works, performances, and architectural interventions. Reading to Strangers is a series of 3 performative events in which marathon readings of novels to live audiences are held in city parks and open spaces. The heart of the work is the act of reading and listening in person over real time in shared spaces and community in order to build shared meanings across subjectivities, time, spaces, and cultures. In Council District 7, the artist team Klein Swanger and Casey Munoz and Brian Goltzenleiter. Klein Swanger and Casey Munoz, whose work, the title of the work is in development, being anticipated for John Baca Park in Linda Vista. Klein Swanger is a San Diego-based artist who explores concepts of the in-between, loss, space, and perception in her work. Swanger incorporates light, shadow, and materials representative of both urban and natural landscapes, allowing for moments of reflection and pause. Casey Munoz is a designer and organizer focused on activating people, activating spaces, and activating change. Munoz thrives on collaboration and enjoys working with artists, designers, makers, activists, and forward thinkers. Swanger and Munoz's project will foster a sense of play, connection, and awareness of place through the formal and metaphorical qualities of line within John P. Baca Neighborhood Park, drawing inspiration from the artwork Ground Line permanently installed at the park. This multi-phase project will include a one-day event of all-inclusive activities that connect participants through 3 different series of line explorations and engagements. Elements and artifacts from the activities will be woven and quilted together into a final installation hung between the existing trees at the center and main thoroughfare of the park for a period of several months. And also in Council District 7, artist Brian Goltzenleiter, whose project is titled The Olfactory Present by Means of Smoke, being planned for Linda Vista Community Park in Linda Vista. Brian Goltzenleiter is an artist, writer, and educator whose work investigates the use value of art and the role of art institutions in the shaping of the social sphere. The Olfactory Present by Means of Smoke is a sensory-based, socially engaged artwork that attempts to raise awareness and stimulate dialogue around cultural differences by means of olfactory and gustatory traditions. The project takes the form of an interactive cookout, which showcases the diversity of culinary traditions within the community. In Council District 8, the artist team Ingram Ober and Marisol Rendon, and the other artist team Yvette, comprised of Yvette Roman and Shayna Ray Dowling. Ingram Ober and Marisol Rendon are working in the Otay Valley Regional Park. There are several titles for their interventions, so A Nest in the Sagebrush and others. Over the course of 14 years, Ingram Ober and Marisol Rendon have collaborated on projects in public art, museum exhibitions, social civic events, and have participated in art and aesthetics discussions. Their work is participatory, interactive, and often employs sculptural provocations. Their project anticipated for Otay Valley Regional Park has 3 phases, each expressed through unique appearances and interventions. As a whole, the project is about exploration, information, and outreach. The artist will hold a workshop, create and document ephemeral, site-specific sculptural interventions, both on, adjacent to, and off the beaten path within the confines of the park. And the project will culminate with an appearance or exhibition to be held at the Otay Valley Regional Park Bayer Boulevard Ranger Station. Yvette Roman and Shayna Ray Dowling's project Collective Memory is being planned for San Isidro Community Park in San Isidro. Collective Memory Shana Ray Dowling and Yvette Roman formed a collaborative in 2016 and have worked together on murals, curation, live performances, facilitating community convenings and public art installations. The collective serves the community by offering free and accessible art in the form of art classes, public art, and performances. Their work centers on trauma-informed care and restorative practices. Collective Memory is a temporal and temporary installation and one-day event where the community is invited to picnic, socialize, and enjoy the park while they share their stories and process shared experiences from the past several years. The public is invited to sit on the blankets arranged concentrically around the central memory dome structure. The blankets will be created with clothing collected from community members via prior community workshops. The memory dome will be a space of quiet reflection with memories and stories printed on fabric remnants gathered from the prior community workshops. And finally, moving on to District 9, where the two artists working are Trevor Amory and Armando de la Torre. Trevor Amory's project, entitled Barely Touching, is being planned for Kensington Park in Kensington. Trevor Amory is a San Diego-based artist who creates sculptures and installations that attempt to embody narratives of discovery, distance, love, and failure through found, source, and fabricated objects. Barely Touching is an interactive sculptural installation that invites park goers to come together and make rubbing drawings. The project consists of a primary ocean wave-inspired platform as well as additional surrounding wood-carved rocks that have plant illustrations carved on their surfaces. The artwork is inspired by the San Diego landscape, geologic elements of change like erosion in the ocean and its ecosystems. Participants are invited to create their own drawings by layering paper across the carvings to make rubbings with crayons. The sculpture becomes a meeting point, a stage, a place for people to come together, create, and play. And Armando de la Torre, who's the title of his project is In Development, but being planned for Southcrest Community Park in Southcrest. Armando de la Torre seeks inspiration for his art throughout San Diego. He is interested in environmental justice, indigenous rights, local and California history, and cinema. De la Torre has worked for many years and in many mediums throughout the San Diego, Southern California, and Baja regions. De la Torre's project is a day-long community art event with a theme of food sovereignty, as well as environmental and social justice at the Southcrest Community Park, which is an area that has been historically underserved in terms of resources. A land acknowledgement and cultural ceremony will open the event for people to engage with art activities, witness sideshow performances, and be wowed by stilt walkers and giant puppets. The project's purpose is to acknowledge the land we live on and learn better stewardship of it. So thank you for bearing with me through all of that, but that concludes the overview of the artist projects for the Park Social Initiative. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Commissioner Poutre.
Thank you, Commissioner Bosler, Chair Bosler. Chuck, the only one of these projects that kind of clangs a little bit for me is the Paletas in University City, because I live in the next community over, and I do not see, I don't see those dudes up there, and I don't know how much meaning that will have to that community. Now, I know that our artists always meet with the community, and so that must come from somewhere, but that I would say, other than that, great projects. That one, I just don't understand.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, I believe that Roberto is kind of interested in kind of tapping into our collective memories of those popsicle vendors. So, but otherwise, I think what you're mentioning is recognized. So I think he's interested in continuing to develop that project and with that in mind.
So given a comment like that from Commissioner Poutre, will you carry that feedback to the artist? Like, what's the mechanism to help shape how that carries forward?
Yes, a good question. Over the course of the fall, the Public Art Committee, each of the artists was able to join the Public Art Committee to present their preliminary idea for feedback. So there's been an opportunity for the Public Art Committee to respond directly to the artist and to be in conversation with the artists. And the artists are required to carry this to acknowledge this feedback in the development of their final proposals. And we'll be working with them to make sure that, you know, their response and acknowledge that the way they anticipate acknowledging that feedback is satisfactory.
Okay, thank you for that. Commissioner DeZenzo, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions logistic wise. So you had mentioned that there was going to be a specific website for this that would talk about the programming and the dates and what the art projects are going to be and whatnot. What is the city's viewpoint on requesting vanity URLs for the websites? The reason being is that, you know, because I do a lot of presentations about the art that we're doing, you know, the commission is doing or paying for, or, you know, things like that. Sometimes I, you know, am asked what the websites are, and for the most part, I can, you know, copy and paste it into a chat window if it's Zoom or whatever. But if I am giving it out in person, sometimes saying, you know, city or san diego.gov, blah, 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 and like listing this gigantic URL for people to write down is really, really inconvenient. And if we want to encourage people to go and find out more and get the dates and whatnot, a vanity URL would be really, really helpful for that. So maybe we can encourage a little bit of push on that, but that was my first question. And then my second question is, what happens if some of these areas get redistricted? Obviously, you know, we're in the end period of our council districts being redistricted, and I just want to make sure that if we are indeed doing 2 art projects per district, that we are not overlooking the fact that we could have some of these that are no longer in their district that they were intended to be in. So I just want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration as well. I love most of these projects, anything that is performative and experiential and has something to do with the community at large is really exciting to me. Site-specific art has always been something that I'm really passionate about. So well done to any of the artists that are listening. I think that you guys are all doing great jobs. And as well, Christine, thank you for all your hard work. And also, Charles, thank you for the for the very in-depth information about all of the projects, all as a whole. I appreciated seeing them all listed out in one fell swoop this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Schomburn, you wanted to speak as well?
Yes, I just want to briefly say that I think I serve on this committee and I love it. Charles does an incredible job. And I think that these are talented people who are really going to make a difference in these communities. And it's very exciting. I did want to say one thing, Charles, for District 1, I didn't hear for the Artbuilds, I didn't hear Diane Neeson's name as the artist up there. I just saw Artbuilds. So I don't think she was referenced in your speech.
Yes, I referred to them as Artbuilds because they're kind of a rotating collective. So there's a number of artists involved. So I'm referring to them, and they have titled their collective Artbuilds. So
okay, yeah, I know she had I think she was the main contributor to this piece. I had met with her, so I kind of just, but that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to better understand that. And I think I just wanted to say one thing to Janet. You know, I understand what she's saying, but I think that the popsicles are something that was happening at one time, and it's a look back at the nostalgia, the innocence, and of that time with those wonderful popsicles. So anyway, that's it was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Commissioner Hughes, did you also wish to speak?
I did. Thank you, Chuck, for this presentation. It's really interesting to get such an in-depth look. And along with Tracy, I really dig the performative ones. That someone is going to read True Grit to an audience is really cool. What happens to the installations, the pieces that are just standalone installations, not performative, after the install period? And I ask this because I wonder if there's an opportunity for either the artist to take back the material and sell it on an aftermarket, or do we get to do that and then keep the profit? Because it's, you know, like those popsicles. Hell, I dig one of those. That's cool. Let my kids have that. You know, be a neat piece to have in the house. So I'm just wondering, you know, what is the ownership structure like after the display period is over? And also such a great job of getting money out into the community, into the art community with projects like this. It's super exciting.
I can maybe, oh, I'm sorry, Chuck.
Go ahead, Christine, that's okay.
Okay, so first of all, great question, Tyler. So because this is temporary and the intent is really that these are artist-driven projects, and particularly thinking about COVID, it was always the intent and is outlined in the agreement that the artists retain ownership. And so these things revert back to them at the end of, if there is anything tangible at the end, which some of them won't have something tangible, but if they do, that reverts back to the artist. And if the artist wants to sell them, that is their prerogative.
Okay, with that, thank you so much to everybody. Yes, Commissioner Schoenbrunn.
I'm sorry, I just have one more comment. It just so happens that this Nancy, Diane Nissim that I keep talking about, she has a warehouse that has a fabulous piece, and I'm in conversation with her, giving it to the new gallery. But I've seen artists have pieces that they have to store, many artists, so feel free to contact these people. That's all I have to say.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much for an important conversation and for all of the feedback. We are now going to move on to our director's report. Jonathan, the floor is yours. Well, actually, before we move on, is there any public comment on this agenda item?
No, there is not.
Okay. Jonathan, the floor is actually yours now.
Thank you, Chair Bosler. Good afternoon, commissioners. I have the honor of formally introducing to you our latest team member, Kip Eischen. I'm actually going to read just a little bit of background about Kip and his background before joining us just 2 weeks ago. In June of 2021, Kip completed his MBA at UC San Diego, where he studied nonprofit management and insight by national art festivals during the 1990s, while also working in the chief auditor's office at the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority. Kip has also worked in art auction houses in New York and Barcelona, where he was associate vice president and specialist in editions, and works on paper, and a senior business intelligence analyst in the contemporary and Asian art markets. Kip is a San Diego native, and his active involvement with local civic organizations includes serving on the executive board of the Point Loma and Ocean Beach Democratic Clubs. So we are delighted to have Kip join the funding team. This is the last day of the cure period. So this has been a crunch week in particular for Christina and Kip, but I did want to take a minute just to introduce Kip. And Kip, we've got about 2 seconds if you'd like to make any comments.
It's really nice to meet you all today, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I'm really excited to support arts programs that benefit the public at large, and honored to be part of the City of San Diego team. So thank you very much for the introduction, Jonathan.
Also want to acknowledge that this was a heavy meeting around public art. The January meeting will have a lot of information in the funding space, and we are actively gathering a fair amount of data right now around the impact of COVID and the impacts on our programming. So we're looking forward to sharing all that information with you in January. Best of holidays to everyone. And with that, Chair Bosler, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, terrific. Welcome aboard, Kip. We'll look forward to working with you and getting to know you better. Now we have, I know we're quickly approaching the 1 o'clock hour and some folks have to leave. Before you do, we're going to move on to the new business for future agendas. Is there any comment on this agenda item?
No, there is not.
Okay. Any feedback from any of the commissioners with respect to future agendas? Okay, seeing none, I will take the chair's prerogative and skip the commissioner speed round and wish you all happy, safe holidays, happy, healthy, and safe. And thank you so much to all of you. Look forward to seeing you all in the new year. With that, we will adjourn this meeting of the Arts Commission.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye.
New Year. Have
So
a
much.
phenomenal New Year. Happy holidays.